Okay, well, let's just assume this is us, the evening. Yep. So we're in the main Taraloka Shrine Room, as all the presentations have been coming from. And this evening, I'm going to tell the story of Kisa Gotami, which most of you know, I'm sure. I'm just going to tell it as if I am Kisa Gotami. So you'll hear that to begin with, and then we'll be going over to the other shrine room at Taraloka. Taraloka has 3 shrine rooms. One of them is this main one, and one of them is a beautiful Tara cabin in the landscape of Taraloka. And one of them is secret, and that's in the top floor of the women's community here. And sometimes I know things get broadcast from there as well. I always think of it as a secret shrine room. And yeah, so actually, what a beautiful ritual space that we're in here at the moment. You know, like hundreds and hundreds of people have been meditating and attending retreats here. I think we sometimes Taraloka would peak at something like 48 to 52 retreats a year, which is a pretty stunning number, given that some retreats would be 10 days long. So 48 was quite a lot, I remember that year. And it's been in existence for 35 years or more now. I think they had their 35th anniversary. Was it last year? Or this year? I can't remember. I looked at it last year, maybe. And the landscape is all full of this, it's just, you know, the landscape, beautiful landscape full of different ritual implements and lots of rituals have happened all over the land that I remember attending many of them. And the Tara cabin is a very special place amidst that. We've also got, I think we've got 3 camping people somewhere in the field down there. I go down there in the end of the field and there's 3 tents up, so I'm assuming people are staying down there. I can't quite believe it, but anyway, there they are. So yeah, Taraloka very much alive and running as a very substantial retreat centre now. So here we are in this whole spiritual tradition, Triratna tradition, but of course Triratna is just part of the Buddhist tradition that's been going on for many, a couple of thousand years. So we're participating in a whole spiritual momentum that's been building up over centuries. And there are times I know when I've touched in on a very mythic sort of space in myself and seen that I'm practicing the Dharma outside time, outside space. I'm just simply a woman, a human being practicing the Dharma in a long tradition of people practicing the Dharma. So the story I'm going to tell you this evening is more than 2,000 years old, but I'm going to tell it as if it's happening now. And in a way, that's also true, isn't it? The story of Kisa Gotami could just be happening right now. Women lose children, children die, people die. We want a way of finding a cure, and at some point, maybe we find the Dharma. So this is the space. So just enter this space with me. Just enter that kind of more mythic space with me. And put myself on gallery view so I'm not so full on. Just feel yourself as practitioners of the Dharma, and you can just sit back, relax, and just hear these words. Okay. So I want you to imagine that maybe we're gathered together, maybe in the forest, or maybe we're in a retreat center, gathering together, and somebody has just said, maybe to me, tell us how you ended up here. Tell us how you ended up practicing the Dharma here. And I just tell you a little bit about my life. That's all that's going to happen. I'm going to tell you a bit about my life. My family name was Gotami. I was given the name Kisa because I was so thin. I was from a poor family, but a noble family. And I was related, interesting enough, I was related by marriage to the head of the Shakyan clan. Because I was noble, because I had that kind of breeding, I was able to marry well. I married Anka's son. But because I was poor and had no money to take into that marriage, I was mistreated by his family, who was scornful and abusive. Therefore, I was often very unhappy and very frightened. But this changed. This changed with the birth of my son. Then a miracle happened. When my son was born, I was accepted into the family and I was treated more as the person I felt I could be. And for a short while, I was happy. For a short while, I felt more settled. For a short while, I was more part of a connection with people. And this source of happiness was my son. It was delightful to have this young boy, and I was never separated from him. And maybe like many of you with children, I delighted in most things that he did. Certainly my firstborn, he was very special to me. But in the autumn of his second year, just when he was beginning to speak, he got ill and died. I don't remember very much about that time. I don't even remember how ill he was. I remember him coughing. It wasn't a very big cough, but it was the cough, and it went on and on a long time. And I wouldn't sleep, and he wouldn't sleep. And then at some point, I remember the moment, the cough stopped, and so did the breath. And in that moment, maybe in that silence, something snapped inside me. I suppose it was a grief or a kind of craziness or a madness or a fear. The fear of my husband's family, the terror of my future and what was going to become of me, and the grief of my beautiful son, the son that I'd got so used to. And I was convinced, I remember this, I was convinced that something somewhere would cure him. I don't think I even realized that it was beyond that point. I just thought, surely something can be done. I mean, so often something can be done, and I'd never felt anything quite so final as that. Like, really, can nothing be done? I moved around the village carrying my boy, and I remember it well. I remember the way that people looked at me, the confusion, the anger. I remember a small group of young boys themselves tormenting me. And some people were just very cool and ignored me. And then a man took pity. That was so good. A man took pity on me. And he said, you must go and see the Buddha. Go and see the Buddha. And he's just outside the village. Just go beyond the outskirts of the village and you'll find him. And I thought, here is a man who will help. Here is a man that will know what to do. And I went to the Buddha. I mean, when I look back now, I realize even in that moment, I recognized him slightly. I had seen him before, strangely. He's my cousin, and I'd seen him on the day of his own son's birth, when he was radiant and happy. He was still radiant, but he was different when I saw him this time. And he took the baby from me. That was a moment, handing the baby over to him, handing my son over to him. And he said, Kisa Gotami, go and bring me mustard seeds. Oh, I was so upset. I was so distressed. I had mustard mustard seeds at home. I said, I've got mustard seeds at home. I could have bought them. I didn't know mustard seeds would do it. And he said, no, it needs to come from a special house. It needs to come from somewhere where nobody has died. Well, my husband's brother had died in that house only the year before, so it couldn't be my mustard seeds. So I said, well, which house should I go to? Can you tell me which house I need to go to? And he said, no, Kisa Gotami, I cannot tell you that house. So I went back into the village, and I met a young woman who was actually washing all her saucepans and things like that. And I said to her, I need mustard seeds. I need mustard seeds for my sick child. And she said, okay, I can get you mustard seeds. And she went back into a hut and got the seeds. And I said, no, I need to know, has anyone died in this place? And she said, well, my father-in-law died. And then before that, my sister-in-law died. And I said, no, I can't take your mustard seeds. And then I went to another hut, and there was an old man. And I said to him, do you have mustard seeds? And he said, I think I might have mustard seeds. And I said, I need it for medicine for my son. He said, okay, I'll go and see if we have mustard seeds. He said, I can ask my daughter. And then they came out with mustard seeds. I mean, everyone's got mustard seeds, for goodness sake. And I said, has anyone died in this house? They've got to be special mustard seeds. And he said, well, my wife died quite recently. And then before that, her brother's son died. And I said, no, don't tell me anything else. That's fine. That's fine. I can't take the mustard seeds. And then the next person I saw was a young man with his own son. And maybe that's what it was, that he had his own son. And I asked him, I didn't ask for the mustard seeds anymore. I just said, has anyone died here? And he said, my wife died when she gave birth to my son. I was a bit calmer by now. I began to see this was a rather strange request that I'm making. I returned back to the forest where the Buddha was. I didn't go and see the Buddha at this point. I was just thinking about things, and I was carrying my wee boy. I thought, this doesn't just happen to me, this happens to everybody. Something was changing in me. I felt this tremendous faith in the Buddha. Well, he hadn't cured my son. He hadn't done anything, but he had cured something. I sat down on the ground at the base of a tree and laid my son on the ground. By this time, I knew that he was dead. I thought, only a crazy woman would think a mustard seed would bring back life to this young boy. And I reflected on my life. All night, I reflected on my life. I looked at my past actions from last year, actions from the year before. Here I was tormented. Here I thought I had the mustard seed, and here it failed me. Here I was happy, and here I thought I had the mustard seed, and here it failed me. Here I was frightened, and here I thought I had the mustard seed, and here it failed me. I spent a night just in the forest. Well, you all know what that's like, a night in the forest, just on your own. When daylight came, I turned round. I turned away from my son. Something was turning. And I sort of, it was strange. It was like I was turning back to humanity, turning back to other people. I saw an ocean of humanity around me. I took up my son and moved through the village. And I walked through the village and I saw everything very differently. Here, this person's heart is closed through grief. Here, this person's heart is open through grief. Here, it is closed through pain. Here, this person's heart is bitter and angry. Here, they're looking for mustard seeds, just like me. And here, they think they've found it. And here, the mustard seed has failed them. There is nothing here that I see as permanent. And then I had these lines in my head, which I know have become my famous lines, the lines that I repeat so often. No village law is this, no city law, no law for this clan or for that alone, but for the whole world, yes, and the gods in heaven. This is the law. All is impermanent. I returned to the Buddha. Gotami, have you brought me that mustard seed? Done is the work of the mustard seed. Never again will I look for it. I wish only to follow you. I told him what I'd seen. I spent the rest of the day just talking with the Buddha. How I'd seen this great ocean of people and my heart had opened. How everything is impermanent. That there is no cure against this mighty law. And how it created suffering. After we'd spoken into the night, my mind and heart turned round. That final turning. I entered the stream and asked for ordination. From then on, and you know what my life was like, from then on, I reflected on the great law of impermanence and how things arise out of conditions and how they cease when those conditions cease. I became famous for austerities. Well, everything tastes of mustard after that, doesn't it? I stayed in the forest alone many times, just meditating. And although I was alone, always this ocean of humanity was around me. And one day, that ocean rushes over me. I swim, the joy and the suffering, life and death, all of it there, this great ocean of feeling and people and connection. Waves rising and falling. In that moment, I shed a few tears in meditation. And then the voice of doubt, Mara's voice in that moment. What's going on? You look as if your child has died. You sit alone, tears streak your face. You've come into the woods alone. Are you looking for a man? God, he knows our weakness, doesn't he? I've finished with the death of my child, and men belong to the past. I don't grieve, I don't cry. I am not afraid of you, friend. Everywhere the love of pleasure is destroyed, the great dark is torn apart, and death, you too, are destroyed. That day, I walked back into the village, meeting a friend on the way who notices a change in me and asks me about it. And I speak these words. I have practiced the great eightfold way, straight to the undying. I have come to the great peace. I have looked into the mirror of the Dharma I, even I, am healed of my hurt. The arrow is out. I've put my burden down. What had to be done has been done. Kisa Gotami, with a free heart, has said this: I have at last broken free. So that is my story, the story of many women, and story of many of our lives, I'm sure, meeting that grief and looking for the mustard seed somehow. So we'll just sit for a couple of minutes, and then we'll go over to the Taraloka cabin and we'll do a puja.